Welcome to the Mr. Tomb Stories channel.
Hear that? It's the sound of the void calling back. Tonight, we journey down a desolate California highway into a true story of absolute terror. One that began on August 30th, 2013. We will follow a young man named Bryce Laspasa as his world unraveled in a matter of hours, culminating in a final chilling phone call to his mother before he vanished from the face of the earth. We will piece together the final frantic moments of his life, the inexplicable decisions, and the terrifying silence that followed. This isn't a story of ghosts. It's a story of a real, breathing horror that can swallow a person whole. Before we descend into this darkness, I invite you to join our community of shadows. Let the subscribe button be your pact with the unknown, and press like as a signal to the whispers in the static that you are listening. Now, turn down the lights. Let's begin. For Karen and Michael Laspasa, the phone call that fractured their world didn't come in the dead of night. It came at 1:50 a.m. on Friday, August 30th, 2013. A time when the darkness in Southern California is thick and heavy, saturated with the quiet hum of a million lives sleeping. On the other end of the line was their son, Bryce, and his voice was a thin, frayed wire in the vast, empty darkness. "I need to pull over," he'd said. Karen's heart, already a tense knot in her chest, pulled tighter. "Okay, honey, where are you? Just tell me where you are." A pause. The sound of road noise, the rhythmic thump-thump of tires on asphalt, and then Bryce's voice again, strangely placid. "I'm going to pull over and get some sleep." This was the third time he had said it in less than an hour. He'd been on the road for nearly 9 hours, making a drive from his college apartment near Chico down to their home in Laguna Niguel, a trip that should have taken 6, maybe 7 hours tops. But Bryce wasn't making good time. He was meandering, stopping, starting, lost in a haze that his parents, hundreds of miles away, could only perceive through the increasingly bizarre filter of his phone calls. The day had started with a different kind of worry. Bryce, a handsome, popular 19-year-old with a shock of red hair and a smile that could disarm a battalion, had been acting strangely for 2 days. He'd abruptly broken up with his long-term girlfriend, Kim, telling her she'd be better off without him. He'd given away his prized diamond earrings. He'd sent a cryptic text to his roommate declaring that he had a lot to think about. Worried, Karen and Michael had been checking in on him constantly. On Thursday, the 29th, Bryce insisted he was fine, just driving. But he wasn't driving home. He was driving aimlessly. He ended up in Buttonwillow, a dusty, forgotten speck of a town off Interstate 5, nearly a 4-hour drive south of his apartment, but still a good 3 hours north of home. He had called them from there, from a rest stop. He wouldn't or couldn't explain why he had been sitting there for hours. He seemed off, distant. It was then that Karen and Michael insisted he come home. "Just get on the I-5 south, Bryce. Don't stop. Just come home." He agreed. That was at 3 p.m. on Thursday. By 9 p.m., he still hadn't arrived. Panic began to set in. They called, No answer. They called again. Finally, at 9:09 p.m., an unfamiliar number lit up Karen's phone. It was a man named Christian, the owner of a roadside assistance company. "Ma'am, I've got your son here. He ran out of gas just off the main road in Buttonwillow." Buttonwillow? Karen's blood ran cold. He was still there. 6 hours later, he had barely moved. She spoke to Bryce, who sounded tired but lucid. He promised again that he was getting back on the road and heading straight home. Christian, the tow truck driver, fueled his tank with 10 gallons of gas, more than enough to get him to the next major city. Christian would later report that Bryce seemed like a nice kid, but his eyes were glassy, distant. He watched Bryce's 2003 Toyota Highlander finally pull back onto the I-5 South and disappear into the night. That was the last time anyone other than his parents would verifiably see Bryce alive. What followed was a torturous, slow-motion nightmare conducted over the phone. Bryce kept calling, but his location and his state of mind seemed to drift. At 11:25 p.m., he called to say he was back on the road. But an hour later, he was still claiming to be driving through areas he should have passed long ago. He was seeing things, he said. He described taking a detour off the interstate, finding himself in a desolate, dark place. "Mom, I'm seeing things. I don't know. It's weird out here." "What do you see, honey?" Karen tried to keep her voice steady, a lighthouse beam in his fog. "Just lights in the hills. It's not right." They stayed on the line with him, a fragile tether of love and fear stretching across the dark California landscape. They tried to pinpoint his location using the landmarks he vaguely described, but his descriptions were disjointed, nonsensical. He claimed he was in the mountains, then back on the freeway. He seemed to be driving in circles, both literally and psychologically. Then came the 1:50 a.m. call, the final call. He was near Castaic Lake, a massive reservoir cupped in the rugged Sierra Pelona Mountains, just an hour from home. He was so close.
"I'm tired, Mom. I'm just gonna pull over on this side road off the exit. Get some sleep." "Bryce, no!" Karen pleaded, her voice cracking. "Please don't hang up. Stay on the phone with me. We're so close. We can drive to you. Just tell me exactly where you are." There was a pause. The sound of the engine idling, the faint chirp of crickets. Then Bryce's voice, devoid of panic, almost serene but with an undercurrent that terrified her more than any scream. I have to. It's better this way." "Bryce, what's better what way? Talk to me!" Another silence, longer this time. Karen could hear him take a breath. It sounded final. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, Bryce. Don't hang up. Please, Bryce, please don't." The line went dead. Karen screamed his name into the silent phone. Michael grabbed it, dialing his number again then again. It went straight to voicemail every single time. They called the police, their words tumbling out in a frantic, desperate torrent. An officer was dispatched to the Cascade Lake area, but the night swallowed him. There was nothing. No sign of Bryce, no sign of his car. For 3 agonizing hours, they existed in a vacuum of pure terror. They sat by the phone, praying it to ring, for his headlights to slice through the darkness of their street. The sun began to rise on Friday morning, painting the sky in sickeningly cheerful shades of pink and orange, a cruel mockery of the black hole that had opened in their lives. At 5:30 a.m., the call they were waiting for came, but it wasn't from Bryce. It was from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. They had found his car. Bryce's Toyota Highlander was found on its side, at the bottom of a steep 25-foot embankment off the main access road to the lake, near a sharp bend in the road. It was a bizarre crash scene. The SUV was overturned, the rear window shattered, but the scene didn't suggest a high-speed accident. It looked more like the car had been deliberately, or perhaps slowly, rolled down the hill. Inside the vehicle were Bryce's belongings: his wallet with his ID and credit cards, his laptop, his phone, his backpack was there, everything. But there was no Bryce, and there was no blood, not a single drop. Investigators were baffled. The deputies who found the car noted the driver's seat was positioned for someone of his height. There were no signs of a struggle, no footprints leading away from the vehicle that they could discern on the hard, dry ground. It was as if he had simply evaporated. The search began immediately. It was one of the largest in the area's history. Helicopters with thermal imaging cameras scanned the rugged terrain. Search and rescue teams, some on foot, some on horseback, combed the dense brush and steep hills surrounding the lake. Dive teams plunged into the murky, cold depths of Castaic Lake, their lights cutting feeble paths through the darkness, searching for a body. They found nothing. Days bled into weeks. The search was scaled back, but his parents never gave up. They blanketed Southern California with missing person flyers. They appeared on the news, their faces etched with a grief so profound it was physically painful to watch. Karen would recount her last conversation with her son, her voice breaking as she remembered his final placid words. The investigation turned up more disturbing details. They discovered that Bryce had been drinking heavily and had taken Vyvanse, an ADHD medication for which he did not have a prescription, with his girlfriend 2 nights before his disappearance. Had it triggered a psychotic break? Was he suffering from a mental health crisis that his family had been unaware of? Witnesses came forward, but their sightings only deepened the mystery. A trucker reported seeing a young man matching Bryce's description, walking away from the area where the car was found, but the timeline was hazy. Another report placed him miles away, near a truck stop, looking disoriented. None of the sightings could be confirmed. Then a chilling discovery was made. On the morning his car was found, about 2 hours after the crash was reported, there was a reported sighting of a fire in a nearby park. When fire crews arrived, they found the smoldering remains of what appeared to be a campsite, but no person. Later, investigators would find that Bryce's laptop bag contained a tool for breaking car windows. Did he shatter his own rear window to get out? If so, why? The questions spiraled into a vortex of terrifying possibilities. The police leaned towards the theory of voluntary disappearance or a tragic accident. But for Karen and Michael, a darker fear took root. Bryce's final words on the phone haunted them. "It's better this way." Better than what? The placid, almost resolved tone of his voice was not, they felt, the sound of someone in a panic. It was the sound of someone who had made a decision. But what decision? Years have passed. August 30th, 2013 is a scar on the calendar, a date that marks the moment their son was erased. There have been no further credible sightings, no ransom notes, no body has ever been found. The lake has been searched multiple times,
The vast, sun-scorched hills have kept their secrets. The horror of Bryce Lespiza's story is not in a monster or a ghost. The horror is in the not knowing. It is in the image of a young man, beloved and full of promise, driving through the night, his mind a fractured landscape, talking to his mother on the phone 1 minute and utterly gone the next. It is the chilling realization that a person can simply be deleted from the world, leaving behind only questions that echo endlessly in the void. His parents are trapped in that last phone call, living in the static after he hung up, waiting for a voice that will never come. The true, terrifying, and tragic twist of this story is that there is no ending. There is only a perpetual, agonizing state of suspension. He is not dead, nor is he alive. He is simply gone. A ghost in the machine of memory, a whisper on a desolate stretch of California highway. A final heartbreaking puzzle with a missing piece that is the size and shape of a human soul. And somewhere in the silence, the question remains, hanging in the air like dust motes in a sunbeam. What did Bryce see in the darkness? And what or who was he running from when he simply vanished into it? The silence left behind by Bryce Lespiza is deafening, isn't it? It forces us to confront the terrifying fragility of our own existence. What do you think happened on that lonely road? Was it a mind fractured by substances and stress? Or did he stumble upon a darkness far more literal? And the most chilling question of all, if you received a call like that from someone you loved, hearing their sanity fray with every passing mile, what would you do when they finally whispered goodbye and the line went dead? What would be your next move? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Sometimes talking in the dark makes the shadows feel a little less lonely. Or does it simply invite more of them in?